And we're back after deliberating about how we were going to handle this playing card idea that John had. We are back after probably a two hour break.
Not as much as the founders took to deliberate.
Yeah,
Constitution, but
yeah, not quite. But we sure did have. It might have been more eventful.
oh boy,
it might have been more eventful. We had a bit of an equipment breakdown. My headphones that I've used 3 times now just snapped on me. So we went around the town of Westminster, Maryland, looking for a replacement pair, and there's not many options. We found a couple music stores, but sadly they were closed.
Shout out to Menchie's Music for
being closed. I don't know when they closed, and then this other store, Music and Arts, had closed 15 minutes before we got there. So, but shout out to Target for hooking me up with a pair of wired headphones, which are hard to find. Ah, boy. So, we figured what we're going to do is we're going to start things off with a coin toss. For instead of a coin, we're going to use a Coors Banquet bottle cap. And John's going to call it in the air, and that's going to be the first pick. And the first pick's going to be able to choose which color they're going to be, and we are going to have one person is going to have the black suits, one person is going to have the red suits, and we're going to do a back and forth draft. So first pick is the winner, second pick, third pick, fourth pick. No, not a snake draft, right? We're not doing a snake draft.
with 2 people now.
Okay. I don't know why that's funny, but that's fine. It's a fair question. And then we don't know what we're going to do after that, but we're just going to get a roster of guys together, and then maybe we'll figure something out. Rate them based on looks.
Could.
We could.
Yeah, we could just have a 5-point scale. We could pull each one.
We could just
score them.
Were there, you know what would be kind of fun? Isn't there like an app where you could like put pictures on, and they would like evaluate it and rate the attractiveness of the person? Now that would be fun to do.
Could do that.
We could do that. So we're just going to have this squad of people, and, we're thinking maybe we could trade them. We'll see what's going to go on. But regardless, beginning, we're just going to draft them and go from there. Right, John?
That's right.
Like that?
We're
stoked.
I'm stoked. It's been awesome.
I'm pretty excited. I got a list together. We took a little bit of time, aside from going to get headphones, I took a little bit of time to do a little bit of research. I know enough I think what we figured is we know enough of these top guys that I think we can do.
And gals.
Aces and gals. And gals. We're going to do aces and kings. So that's going to be a total of 8 people, 4 people on each side. We're going to pick. And we're just going to see how that goes. So with all no further ado, I'm going to get a bottle cap, and we're going to do the flip. All right, I got that was great. All right, John, I got it on the let's see, we got 2 bottle caps. I'm going to read the back. If you can pick which one we do, they both have things in there. We got over 140 years made one way, or brewed in Colorado before it was Colorado.
We like that. I think that plays more to what we're going with.
Okay.
We're doing a show that predates Colorado, these guys. So.
Is that what that means, you think? It's been brewed since, what did it say? Over
before
100?
It was a state.
Yeah, 140 years. When did it become a state? I guess we could look
Late 1800s.
One would deduce that.
I could check.
Let's look at that before we go forward. Just curious. I'm going to get some Colorado history. When did Colorado legalize weed? That's a shame that was the first thing that came up. 1876. All right, now look when did the Coors Brewery open? They said over 140 years, so that would be at least 18. 84. 1 year.
Dang.
1873.
Got in early.
Adolf Coors, a penniless brewer's apprentice. Stowed away on a ship from Germany in 1868. Made his way west. Coming across the perfect water of Clear Creek in Golden, Colorado. You ever been to Golden?
I have not.
Man, it's sweet.
I hear the banquet's even tastier up there.
That altitude really, I mean, when you're drinking it at altitude,
It's nothing better.
beats it. Nothing beats it out of the tap. All right. So we got what we'll do. Heads is the banquet logo, and tails is the brewed in Colorado before it was Colorado.
Fantastic.
Okay? All right, call it in the air.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep. Banquet.
Oh, it's the brewed before Colorado was a state. Oh, you're checking? All right, that's fine. He checked it just to make sure.
I checked it. All right. Who you going with?
All right, I got first pick, baby. I'm gonna pick. Well, first of all, I'm gonna pick red. I'm gonna pick the red suit. So I
Which
think
red?
we're just doing red and black. So I got both red. So
okay.
which one are we gonna fill? And I'm gonna pick the heart. I'm gonna do hearts.
All right. So you're gonna your ace of hearts.
My ace of hearts is the one and only George Washington.
Dang.
I mean, that is the obvious number one pick. I don't know. What do you think about that?
It's just, you know,
I don't think it's even controversial.
it's not controversial. It's a lock. He's
I mean,
the MVP
I mean, he
of the generation.
started you could argue he started the American Indian War, the French and Indian War.
He's got it stuck in it there.
Yeah, he got us a little hot water over in the Ohio's is when that started, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Modern day Pittsburgh area.
That way, Fort Necessity. Yeah.
For necessity, didn't know what he was doing, got us in a little bit of hot water and ran. And then that started the French and Indian War, which one could argue started the American Revolution.
If you draw a line from it, you can.
I would think
that would be the British side.
I think that's the most direct route to say what led to the revolution is the war, the French and Indian War. Britain they won. It was a 7 years war. They considered the 7 years war because it was an international war for them.
Right.
But we don't think about that. Anyway, they were broke, and that's kind of why they started raising the taxes because of that. Also, they had to protect. They stationed troops like on the. I guess I think it was the Appalachian Mounds, right?
I think that was as far west.
They kind of said they didn't want anyone going more west than that, and they had to pay for like the military to like station there to protect the colonists from. Anyway, I don't want to get too into that, but you know that kind of led to the American Revolution. You know, he gets nominated by John Adams.
First Continental Congress.
He gets nominated, kind of takes it, you know, off the shoulder, like, hey, I'll do it if you want me to. I think that's kind of his attitude. I mean, I think he was like...
He was duty bound.
Yeah,
he said, hey, that's just, you know.
And he was like, he was kind of flattered, I think, that they picked him. But, you know, then he picked that.
Played it cool.
Started the Continental Army. Or, you know, developed, you know, whatever. The freaking going over the Delaware was a baller move. Big.
That was big time.
That was a big move. Because, like, back then, you didn't fight then. Christmas night? Kidding me? Bold move. Cold. Hessians didn't see it coming. I think one of the coolest stories that I heard of George Washington, I don't know if you ever heard of this. I think it was the Battle of Trenton, where Charles Lee was retreating. Because there's Charles Lee was captured, I think, during possibly the Battle of Saratoga. I don't know. He was captured in an earlier battle of the war, but he had gotten it through a trade. I think he was released, and then during a battle, George Washington they were like boys. So like George Washington sent him, like he was to lead this battle, and he like retreated like right away basically. And there's been some evidence that like he was maybe being what is it treacherous or
treasonous?
Treasonous. But they don't know that. But he retreated, and George Washington was like, "We're not retreating," and he like went right back into on his horse, led his guys back into battle. That was the last time he saw action in the war, but that was pretty cool. I mean, that's like how he's just like that character, and then obviously being the president, first president, setting that precedent for how to hold that office in probably the best way possible, in my opinion. And I won't get into any more detail. George Washington's pretty self-explanatory. What do you think?
I think it's a great choice. I think it's the must choice. If you were to do anything else, I'd question it for sure. Okay, I thought you were going to go a little different route. I thought you were going to put him on the Ace of Spades, though, but I think it's arguably the most important card in the deck. I think people would think, but that's fine.
All
it's
right, so
totally
that was an easy
discretion.
one. I'm curious about this one. This is going to be good.
Okay. So I will take the Ace of Spades. I'm going to come out with that. I have to go with Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah, that was my number 2.
Just, writer of the Declaration of Independence. Basically, he really held, half the country together in his idea of republicanism.
Sick House,
Monticello,
Virginia.
Just a baller, ushered in a wave of 25, how many years from 1800 when he became first president up until the end of James Monroe. He had 24 years of Republican rule, so he kind of ushered in a whole wave of American sentiment, and he's a boss. Did not fight in the Revolution. I mean, it's
pussy.
Maybe you can take that a little bit away from him, but
Louisiana Purchase, I see there. That's a big one.
That was a big one.
Big one.
So Thomas Jefferson. See you
Thomas
later.
Jefferson, number 2 off the list.
It. Signed, packaged, and sealed.
All right, my number 3 pick going to be a hot take. I think this is
Here we
going to
go.
be. I think this is going to
Here we
be a
go.
bit of a hot. I mean, it's not a hot take, but I don't think you're going to like it. I'm going Benjamin Franklin.
Oh, so we're going Ace of Clubs?
Ace
of Diamonds.
No, yeah, Ace of Diamonds is Benjamin Franklin.
Are there?
I just think Benjamin Franklin was a huge part of a long period of the country. Through like the rebellious years, getting into like the Continental Congress.
He's a diplomat too, right?
Yeah,
During the war in France.
Treaty of Paris. I think one of my favorite things that he did that was pretty hilarious was they went over to so like the Treaty of Paris was like so the whole thing, the French came over to help us in the American Revolution, and they were like, we'll come, but any treaty that you make, we got to agree to it before it's set. And that didn't happen. And the Ben Franklin and John Jay were over there kind of being a little sneaky. I forget how they avoided doing that. Like there was some way that like they didn't have to have France agree to it for them to come to that. I forget. But then, so they did that, and they're like, yeah, we're cool. And then before Ben Franklin even came back, he was like, yeah, and by the way, can we borrow some money to, like, start our country? Because we're broke. We can't pay our army. And they gave it to us. And then when they asked us to help them in the revolution, George Washington was like, nah. So I got, like, a pretty good 1-2 punch with that. I mean, Ben Franklin's over there, like, wheeling and dealing. Apparently, he dressed like a scrub to, like, make people think that, like, oh, look at this scrub from like America. He's like a plain, like doesn't whatever. But then he was like actually smart and like, discovered electricity. Big one. Bifocals. Big one.
Big time. Not in this picture though. If you can see.
No, but he invented bifocals, I'm saying.
Oh.
Right?
Did he?
You didn't know that? Are you serious? Are you serious? You didn't know that?
I didn't know that, no.
Are you serious? Wow. Yeah, he invented bifocals. I think I don't know how much of a role he played in the early politics of the country either. I think he had his opinions on I don't know how.
Seemed like he steered a middle course for sure. I think he was more of a nationalist and he was a states writer, or more of, I think he probably fell more in line with like your Hamilton than your Jefferson.
I think that's probably, but he was
also like way older than everyone else. He was like just seen it all. He probably knew his life was winding down a little bit. And but I know at one point I read and heard that he in Pennsylvania he was actually asking for the crown to take over in the early 1760s, and that was probably a knock on him, but won't get too much into that. So
I'm a little worried he didn't invent the bifocals, but I'm pretty sure he did. I don't know how you don't know that. That's unbelievable. You were a freaking butt punch. All right, so Ben Franklin. There you go. That's my number 2 pick.
That's your number 2 pick. Okay. It pains me to say, but I got to do it.
Okay. I'm not going to guess, but I know who it's going to be. Maybe not. Go ahead.
I'm going to take Alexander.
I knew it.
Hamilton.
Big. Oh, that's a. Whew.
I'm not a fan of his politics, but I'd be remiss if I didn't take the guy.
War hero.
I mean, he is the. There's a quote, and I would butcher it. Basically saying, people want to live in Jefferson's America, but you look around, Hamilton's America is what we actually live in, and I think that play probably made a point of doing that. But created the first national bank, which whether or not it was constitutional, that could be argued. But he had the year of Washington. He was a soldier.
No, I would say the national
American
bank,
hero for sure.
National bank may have been unconstitutional, but it did help in getting the country out of debt.
Well, that was the argument the Federalists always made.
I mean, I think
state assumption of debt. That was the whole point, and to be able to.
Big part of. I think to me that's a plus. Maybe not the way that he went about
it. I mean, no, you could argue that if you want to have a mercantile society run by stock, it was, but for your agrarian types like your Jeffersons,
they were bummed.
Nathaniel Macons, like the people that just left the central tyranny that believed in more of an agrarian, farm culture and society. Yeah, they didn't want what they call the paper jobbers running around and basically shuffling paper around.
A couple
other
other great things about him. He had an affair. I wouldn't say okay, I wouldn't say that's a great thing, but it's funny to hear that story. You've heard that story, right? No. Oh, you never heard that story?
I know he was married to a
there's a whole story,
famous family in New York.
I don't know. There's a whole story. This woman and husband basically conned him for a year. She was pretending to be this damsel in distress type situation, and basically tricked him into I don't know. I won't didn't he just fell into started having an affair with her, and then her husband showed up and they extorted him for money, and he basically was I don't know, he might have paid or whatever, but then he was and he just released he wrote a pamphlet on the whole situation. He just came out and owned up to the whole thing, which is a pretty, I mean, you think about just politics, obviously politics in general, the whole, the recent history, it's just always been going on, that kind of stuff, and it paints a picture of these guys aren't perfect, and how he died was pretty great.
Little feud with Aaron Burr. And did not go so well. But it's pretty baller that he did that. I can't take any away from the man himself in terms of his love of the country. And that's, I think, part of the reason why, maybe in part, he was such a national. He was an orphan
from
bastard child from Nevis, Caribbean.
Yes.
And so when he came, and obviously, he got in with Washington. I mean, I think America very much became his country, but this was a time when a lot of people thought when they said my country, they were actually referring to their state. Thomas Jefferson was always kind of known for that whenever he'd say it, meant Virginia. So, but yeah, for Hamilton, I mean, he was the American hero in every sense of the phrase. So, yep, give him the ace of clubs.
You got any other facts on there that we didn't get to?
I've been to his house once.
It
was moved.
John's been to his house once. That's
It's a pretty cool story. No, his house is it's pretty neat up in Harlem.
Where is it, Harlem?
They had to move it like 3 times over the centuries.
Oh, that's crazy.
But it's pretty cool. I mean, I've never seen the play.
I watched it on TV. I fell asleep in the middle of it. It was not my bag. But I think, and this is going to blow your mind. I don't know if I've ever told you this, and it's kind of I don't know all the facts, and it's kind of a shame that I probably should have asked about this. I may be related to Alexander Hamilton distantly. That whole 23andMe thing.
Yeah.
Like my dad did it, and I think that there was like somehow we were like, but they say that like everybody's related to at some point. You go enough degrees of separation, whatever. But there was something with that, or
I don't know. It's only like 5 generations. So it's only like 6 or 7 generations.
Did you ever hear
Not
about
that far?
That's true.
We're not talking about Adam and Eve. We're not going back millennia. It's like,
well, so you're saying it's kind of impressive. Now, I will.
Yes, extremely.
You don't think that's impressive? You just picked him as your.
He was very duplicitous. He was probably the most duplicitous of all the founders. He'd say one thing and do another. He would do whatever he had to do to kind of get through. But I'm not knocking him for he's an important founder. No, he said at the Constitutional Convention he wanted to basically get rid of the states. And then he left the Constitutional Convention because he's like, well, screw this. I'm not getting my way. And then during the ratification convention in New York, he came back and was like, no, the states are super important. Like, it'll be fine. And then whenever all the states ratified, then he kind of had his way. And yeah, so I'm not a fan of him, but I'm trying to see it from both sides. And yeah, he's an important founder, and I think he's
still kind of cool to be related to him. I will say a little bit of a note. It's either I'm related to him or my brother-in-law is related to him. I don't have the story 100% straight, so we'll see. But
yeah, go to his house if you're ever in Harlem.
Yeah, well, because my family, my American heritage kind of goes back to like 1750, so it's possible for me.
What? Pennsylvania,
New York.
Really?
No, not New York. I'm just saying they're near each other.
Okay.
He spent time in Philadelphia. You don't think he went out to Greshville while he was maybe he went out there while he was taking a break from the
Where's Greshville?
We drove through it.
For our listeners that don't know where it is, it
is a suburb of Philadelphia. I'll say that much. I don't want to get too specific. They'll hunt me down for picking Ben Franklin as my second pick.
Yeah, really.
Not really in Philadelphia. I mean, he
did talk a lot of trash.
He
on
was
Germans.
from Philadelphia too.
He didn't like the Germans.
Hey,
he did not care for it.
Really?
Yeah, I sent you that thing that one time.
Was it a 45-minute video that you sent in the middle of a workday that I didn't have time to say? Hold on. Oh, sorry, boss. My friend John just sent me a 45-minute video about how Ben Franklin didn't like the Germans, so I gotta take a break. Sorry.
He wanted them to get in line, speak English. The things don't change. History repeats itself for sure, or it rhymes. I think whatever Mark Twain said. I don't know.
Yeah,
anyway,
but
Alexander Hamilton, screw you. But you're going to get an ace. You're getting an ace.
He was my number 4. So right now,
in my personal rankings, I put him elsewhere, but I have to be cognizant of.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what this is gonna, but it's a good pick. He was my number 4 so far. I don't know. Was Ben Franklin in your top 4?
Was this just turning into me trying to guess your top 8? Maybe we just.
No, let's keep going. Was Ben Franklin in your top 4?
No.
Really?
No.
Interesting. No. What was Ben Franklin on your list, would you say? Oh, you didn't put a list. You didn't put any.
I'd put him at maybe 6.
Whoa.
There's a big 6.
Yeah, I know there's a big 6.
I'd put him at 6.
Potentially 7 though. If you there's one that's forgotten, which we'll probably get to hopefully. All right, I'm gonna go with. Man, I feel like I'm gonna go off the rails here. I'm gonna go a little off the rails. I'm gonna go outside of my top 8 because I just think that this guy was the man, and I don't know what John really thinks about this person, but
Is he on the list?
he's on the
Do
list.
I have a picture of him?
You have a picture of him.
Okay.
It's not that out of nowhere. But
Okay.
it's definitely he's not one of the big 6.
You're naming a king right now. You know that, right? You're picking a king.
The King of Hearts, right? Is that what it is?
That's where we are.
John Hancock.
Wow. That is
Well,
that's a reach.
I know it was a reach. I know I could have picked him later, but I just want to make the point that guy was the man.
How? Why?
I mean, you're mad because he's from Massachusetts.
No, it's fine. I mean, it's fine. He was anti-founder. He was
a smuggler. He was a smuggler. Like back, he basically led to the Boston Tea. Like he played a huge role in leading to the Boston Tea Party by refusing to pay the taxes. He was a smuggler. Pretty cool. Like good-looking guy. He's good-looking.
The picture. Yeah.
I mean, the picture. But I've heard he was a good-looking guy. He was rich.
He's got a financial services company named after him. John Hancock up in Boston.
I've never heard of that.
Okay.
That doesn't matter though.
Well, he's memorable. I mean, yeah, they love him
Like,
up
I just
there
think
still.
He was cool.
He was super
So
important
he ran,
in Massachusetts.
and he ran the didn't he run the Congressional Constitutional Congress.
He signed. He was he saw over the signing of the Declaration. That's why he signed his name biggest. That's why
But that was part of the
Continental Congress.
Continental Congress.
Yeah.
So was he the president of the Continental Congress? I think he was. I mean, according to the HBO series that I started watching on Wednesday, he looked like he was running that, didn't he?
I think so. Where is he here?
Shout out to him too for having like a colloquial term named after him too. I mean, it is fun. It's fun to say like put your John Hancock on that. That's pretty cool to say. I don't know. I think he's the man. I think John Hancock's cool.
The richest man in the North. It was even more popular
than John Adams or Sam Adams. That's what I'm saying. I mean, that's a good pick. It's a good pick.
I think it's a reach.
I mean, I don't know.
I'm willing to part ways, but I gotta find my guy now.
Listen,
you freed somebody else who should have been. I gotta find him, but it's not John Adams. I'll say that much.
Okay, no one asked. He was the president. He was the president of the Second Continental Congress. He's a big deal, and he was just an importer. That's all that he was. He was rich.
Yeah,
and he's like the thing that's cool. I mean, he was probably most affected by things like the Stamp Act or the intolerable, especially the Intolerable Acts when they came.
When they came in,
when they shut down the ports, but. He could have played. He probably. I mean, I'm sure there was selfish reasons for him to like not play the game with the crown. Like he didn't want to. He wanted to keep his money. I mean, that's ultimately what it is. But it's just cool to see. Like he was really a big part of the revolution, which is cool. He's the man. I mean, I think he's cool, and he's got a sweet signature. It's big.
You'll never forget it. You'll know what it looks like. All right. Moving on.
Yeah, I get. We'll move on. Yeah.
All right. So where am I here? We did the Ace of Clubs. No, I'm naming a king. So King of Spades. Okay. King of Spades.
Wish you would have done more preparation.
I'm going to do James Madison.
Wow, I'm surprised by that.
Really?
I am.
Why?
A little bit of a Federalist.
He was, but then he kind of found his way at the back end of the 1790s.
I mean, he wrote
with
the Federalist Papers.
Yeah, well, he was, yeah.
Start of the War of 1812. Well, was president during it.
Okay.
That kind of sucks.
White House burned down. Had to flee. But, yeah, I mean,
he
was a father.
He was the big. I mean, he was the one who wrote the Constitution.
Well, physically, but a lot of people put it through. But he's
he's the one who developed the Virginia Bill of Rights too. No,
he came. No, that was George Mason. He came to the Constitutional Convention with the Virginia Plan as well. To kind of, that was what they wanted to do, in replacing the Articles. But yeah, I mean, but he when push came to shove, in the 1790s during the Kentucky resolutions and Virginia resolutions, he was really important. Fourth president, got that name recognition.
Anything fun about him?
Got that glare about him.
College named after him.
No, actually, he was like super small and kind of like wimpy.
You're not pitching him. My picks are so much better than yours. Like, you have said nothing fun about any of your guys.
I'm just trying to build a solid roster here.
I don't think you are, though. What else did he do? I mean, don't look it up now. You had your chance. All right, I
think I had to do a project on him in like the 5th grade too. So shout out to my 5th grade self
and you don't remember it. That's cool. This is tough because like now you're going. So I'm gonna take you don't have anything else to say about James Madison. Boring pick. Your team is boring. I knew it was going to be boring because you're just not a fun person. So your picks stink so far. I mean, what are your? We'll review it at the end. All right. So my last pick in the first, I guess the first. We're going to call this the first round of this draft to create these. It's tough for me because there's a guy that is considered. You say the top 6. I think there's a lot of people say there's top 7 of the founding fathers, and there's one guy on there that would be on there that would be included there. Oh no, you know what? John Adams. I gotta go John Adams. He was big time. He wasn't my favorite, but you know what I recently found out about him that was kind of cool, which I don't know a ton of, like a ton about the
TV series you just became.
No, I haven't gotten there, but I doing a little bit of research, like towards the end of his presidency, he kind of went against the Federalist Party, which is cool.
Yeah, he and Hamilton definitely were at loggerheads.
Yeah, which is cool. I mean, that's like, the election of 1800 is probably one of the more interesting elections that there's ever been.
Yes.
And it was him against TJ,
and Aaron Burr,
one of your boring picks. Yep. And Aaron Burr, who killed Alexander Hamilton, correct? So these guys all were boys. It's funny to think about. But he was while he was running for re-election, he was going against his party, which is just interesting to me that you would do.
Well, he didn't want to have a war with France. Yeah, he wanted to put. I genuinely think he did want to put, the country above party and politics.
Which is now when you think about, and I don't want to get political present day, but just in general, to be general about it. Now, when you think of somebody during an election year, a president during an election year, they're not. I don't follow it enough, but it just seems like their whole re-election year is just them campaigning to become president again.
Not even just the last
and this guy
year.
Was doing
multiple.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to. it just seems like that. You could argue that as soon as they get sworn in as president, they're working on being reelected for the second term.
100%.
But we're not gonna get into that.
Well, that's why there should be a single 6-year term.
We're not gonna get into that. But but what I'm saying is with John, it's just like a refreshing thing to hear. I mean, that's really cool. But obviously some negative things about him. Big time Federalist, the Sedition Acts, the Alien Acts, Sedition Acts were pretty scary. I recently was listening to a guy. I sent you this YouTube video. We're not going to name him by name, but it was a horrible list of the founding fathers, in my opinion. He actually thought that the Sedition Acts were a positive thing, which I don't know if you got that far listening to that.
No.
But he looked at it as like, oh, it was a way
so did many Federalists, yeah.
It was a way to imprison
your political opponents.
They were saying they were like traitors. That's what his opinion was that. I mean, I guess that's what they went. That's how they do it. But if you're not familiar with the Sedition Acts in general, if you published anything or said anything that was against the government, you could go to prison.
Yes.
And the only person that wasn't protected at the time that was passed was Thomas Jefferson, who was the vice president at the time. I don't know if you knew that. So it was a lot of people said, you could almost say that they were just going after, they were trying to get Thomas Jefferson.
They wanted their political rivals.
Yeah.
If any.
And he actually passed that. And the Alien Acts, I don't know as much
the
about
Naturalization
that. Not
Act.
as bad.
Well, they changed it from 5 years to 14 years resident.
Which got changed back.
Once Jefferson came in,
right.
yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, because most immigrants were supporters of Jefferson.
But anyway, so not to get too in-depth, Sedition Act, Alien Act's negative. That's a bummer.
He wanted to name the president Your Highness, His Highness.
Yeah, that's
kind of lame.
And then him and George Washington didn't get along, I don't think.
Yeah.
If you didn't get along with George Washington.
Nobody liked him. Adams was not popular amongst any of his peers.
But I think he was probably obviously a smart guy, and Paul Giamatti does a great job playing him. I honestly, I don't know him, and it's funny, but I just feel like Paul Giamatti is it's probably exactly how he was. Just a really unlikable guy.
He's very unlikable.
But really good at what he does.
Yeah. I think he was certainly very smart, knew what he was doing, understood, had a legal background, defended the British. Oh, we didn't get on that.
Boom, boom.
Defended Captain Preston.
We didn't even get into that.
Boston Massacre.
I don't hate that he did that.
He's just trying to call it. He was trying to call it a straight line.
So
he was trying to call it.
Just we don't want to get too involved in that, but that was what was his name? Charles Preston? Was that his name?
Captain Preston. I forget his first name. Captain Preston.
Yeah. Anyway, he was the one who was in charge of the soldiers during the Boston Massacre, and they were brought to court, and John Adams represented them, and he got them off, which was it had to have been similar to the O.J. Simpson trial.
It seemed pretty agitated at that time. Samuel Adams' cousin was in his ear about, come on,
Yeah, no, he went again, and again, he was I just see him as somebody who put his own beliefs ahead of everything else. I think he was a rebellious person. I think he was more siding with the cause of during that time. I think he was more of a patriot than a loyalist, I think. But
he was concerned with his legacy, though.
But he was able to. Yeah, I know. I'm sure. But
hard.
He did it. He did. But he, and you could, he went against the Patriots to really represent them, and I think that shows somebody who is looking at it, with very bipartisan.
And I think he had some there's foresight there for sure. He had some of that.
That it was, and then I think that also led to him being a representative of them in the Continental Congress. Because I think a lot of people said that he came across as so impartial for doing that. That if he was to say if somebody who defended the British during the Boston Massacre was to call for independence like that, it was going to weigh that much stronger. So maybe it was a tactful move, but he did it and he won. So he must have been a good lawyer because that's pretty nuts.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, one could argue you listen to Paul Revere's account of the Boston Massacre versus, I think it's Charles Preston. One account is that the soldiers were coming in, raising hell, and everyone was minding their own business, and then they came in and blew them away. And then the other, Charles Preston's, account is that they, it was a mob rule and they were defending themselves. And I think Charles Preston said that he never actually told them to fire. I believe. I don't know. I'm not.
You weren't there.
I was not there, but who was involved.
Maybe
who
your
probably
great,
was there.
great-
John Hancock, my number 3 pick.
Your great uncle once removed from Alexander Hamilton.
Yeah.
So just on a sojourn up to Boston.
Just like a straight up German, just like hanging out with Alexander Hamilton. Just, or no, I guess he would have been hanging out with Sam Adams.
Yeah.
And John
Maybe
Hancock.
that's where you learned it from. Learn the brewing.
Well, we'll get into that.
Got a lot of guys here. Got a lot of guys we can pick from.
So we have 52 people to pick from, unless 54 if we pick Jokers, which Jokers would actually be pretty funny.
I think I know. I kind of want to pick the joke. I know who the Joker.
I don't want to do it because I'm not
Oh.
ready. I'm not ready. That's fine. I actually kind of think that it would be funny if we could pick anybody from the whole history of the country as the Joker.
Okay.
So like you could pick like Ted Kennedy as the Joker.
Would his picture be?
I mean, yeah. I mean, where it would come from. I mean, what a bozo.
I don't know, I still love him
But
up
it would-
there in Cape Cod.
I know. I'm sure they do. I bet John Hamilton or John Hancock wouldn't be John Hamilton. John Hancock wouldn't be a big fan of Ted Kennedy. I don't think. Not representing. I don't think many of these forefathers would be. Although maybe Alexander Hamilton because he was a little dubious himself.
He was, but I think even he'd think it's out of control.
I mean, that's pretty out of control. If you don't know what we're talking about, watch the film Chappaquiddick starring the guy from Zero Dark 30 and Kate Mara. All right, you got one more pick.
Another king.
Sorry, we got to wait for the Joker. Sorry.
I'm crowning a king here. Oh man. Oh dude.
He was on the tip of my tongue. He was on the tip of my tongue. So was the guy you just passed.
Oh man.
No, you just passed. No, not him.
No.
That was the guy. So John's not going to pick him. I'm just going to say it now. John Jay he's a heavy hitter, but he's just not sexy.
No. And I already have
That's
two
all when it comes
unsexy
to-
picks, according to you.
It's 3 unsexy picks.
Unsexy-
TJ's all right.
I have unsexy explanations, but they are still sexy. I do encourage all listeners to read.
You got to do it for him. You got to get him amped up. I bet.
Trying to get
You know what? I
excited.
bet what I'm talking about. People are going to be looking up John Hancock.
Gonna end up with a brokerage account before it's all said and done. Okay,
All right.
I gotta go. Big dog. Big.
I'm talking.
going
Anyway,
Virginia.
I was talking.
I'm going Virginia.
I was talking right below that.
Who? Him.
No, below who you were just at.
Him.
No.
Him.
Yeah. No.
You can stay up in the north, dog. I'm staying in my home. I'm staying.
You're not from Virginia.
I'm not from, but that's where I'm staying. So I got to go with Patrick Henry.
That's a great pick.
Give me liberty.
Now that is
but give me Patrick Henry.
That is. That's a good pick. He was the man, but I just feel like he fell off.
I mean, no, he fell off in the national spotlight, but that's, of course, because he's a Virginian first and foremost, and he would tell you that.
Yeah, but I mean, he could have.
He's an anti-federalist, spoke against the Constitution, said it was trash, not wanting ratified.
But did he even help develop the Articles of the Confederation? See, he's cool. He's cool, but he's I don't know. He fell off. He falls off. What else do you have to say about him? Yeah, I mean, John started. It was the famous line during the Virginia. What was it? House of Commons? No, House of Burgesses.
After the House of Burgesses, 1770.
He was
60.
He was vehemently opposed. Vehemently opposed to the.
Oh, I missed out him one too.
Opposed to the Stamp. The Stamp Act was his big one, right?
Big time. He was big time.
The Stamp Act was that. So
he said we were independent from 1765. As soon as Parliament took that discretion of doing the Stamp Act, like we were already independent. He was, he came out hot. He was not throwing any punch. He was not taking it lightly. And
was he wealthy?
I don't think he was super wealthy. I mean, he would have been a planter.
I think so. Patrick Henry's big thing was they
did not like centralizing anymore. Did not like centralizing power.
John is reading directly from a book that he didn't read, so that's helpful.
I read it. I've listened to it.
Trying
to get quotes.
So he was very much against. Like, so I think there was a time where these taxes were coming without representation. The colonies found that to be unconstitutional. But some people were going to go with it, and Patrick had, a lot of people, and Patrick Henry was a big proponent of independence, like you said. I would say Patrick Henry is probably the number one independence, because even when they went to sit in to talk about the Declaration of Independence, the Continental Congress wasn't about independence for a long while.
Yeah.
Now one could argue that John Adams was a big proponent of that coming down there, but I think Patrick Henry was way early on saying.
Yeah, and I think he saw his Virginia was already out. In his mind, Virginia was out long before the Declaration of Independence.
It's a cool name too, Patrick Henry. It's a cool name. I don't know what else he really did though. Another kind of
governor. No, I mean it was a governor of Virginia, and so he was the kingmaker in Virginia. He was the guy. So
we're putting together
and Thomas Jefferson. We're
putting together founding fathers of the United States of America, and your fourth pick is a guy who just kind of stayed in Virginia. Just wanted to summarize that for you.
Well, in a federal republic, then that's fine. In a federal republic system where the general government is only supposed to do general things, and you can have heavy hitters like your John Hancock of Massachusetts.
Oh,
your Patrick Henry of Virginia's, your George Clintons of New York, your John Dickinsons of Pennsylvania. You can have guys who are actually at the top of their game in their states.
I agree with you, but I don't think he's a top 8. Sorry.
Well,
are you second guessing yourself?
No, there's nobody else I would have put in there. I'm not picking John Jay.
Not Thomas Paine? No Thomas Paine either?
I don't know. He kind of ran into some whoopsies in France. Kind of got picked up by the old directory or whatever it was out there, Jacobins. He was all about it. He was all supportive of the French Revolution, and then he stepped in it and had to get bailed out. Sent back to America.
John Adams? Whatever. All right, so that's it. So let's review. Let's go back to our list. So my list, I'm the red. I got George Washington, great pick. Obviously. Ben Franklin, another great pick. I don't know. Ben Franklin did a lot.
Okay.
John Hancock.
That is, I like the guy, but it's a reach for me.
You still saying that?
I still say it.
All right, you're
If a kid bought a pack of these cards in KB Toys, just saw them on the shelf, and his parents looking at him like, oh, let's see, oh yeah, I know a thing or two about. I took a poli-sci class once in high school. Let me see what about.
You think
John Hancock? What? Like, dad's gonna be like, nah, I didn't pay attention much in high school, but I'm pretty sure I just know that's the guy with the big signature.
I mean, that's the thing.
It's not John. It's Herbie Hancock.
That's another plus. Is if you've seen Tommy Boy, that's a great line of movie. But I think a lot of people think about that being him being like just the signature guy, but I think I don't know.
It was a Boston, Massachusetts. Yeah, he did most of the work. Fine, take him.
What would you rank him?
He's gonna slot in maybe the Jacks for me, somewhere in the Jacks.
Really?
I think so.
Well, aside from like I'm not. It's not
maybe
really
the low
a draft.
Queens.
It's
maybe
not really a draft in the sense that like I could have gotten him lower. I don't want to. We're putting a value to it, so we don't really have to worry about that. I'm not worried about being able to. I could have taken him lower, but I want to put him at a king because I think he's.
I want to see where he would grade himself. Maybe I don't know. He had a bigger opinion of himself, but if he would be like, okay, ask John Hancock, where do you think you could be in the deck of 52 cards? And he'd be like, well, I can't do it to George, and Tommy Jefferson's going to be above me. Like, I don't know, but some of these guys had really big opinions of themselves, so maybe he would have said he was a king. I don't know.
Yeah, that was okay. And then your list, is
they need to grade themselves, is what I'm saying.
That'll be easy. Yeah, I guess we'll use ChatGPT for that. So your list. What's your list? So,
I came out hitting with Thomas Jefferson as my
DJ.
Ace of Spades. Wish I had him as a heart, but that's okay. I can't have everything. Don't fault that at all. I stand by that wholeheartedly. Secondly, I went Alexander Hamilton. Just trying to cover my bases, like I got 200 the spectrum.
You did.
I want the top
honestly,
dogs.
They were boys, though.
I think you're thinking of John Adams and Thomas Jefferson were boys for a time.
Of.
Hamilton
and Jefferson.
They fought. He's part of the. He's the reason why Jefferson resigned from the cabinet, from Washington's cabinet.
I thought they were boys at one point.
Maybe like during the war, maybe they taught, but I don't think so. I don't think so. Certainly politically and
Do you think so?
Certainly politically, and their approaches to government were very different.
I'm pretty sure they were boys.
Okay, boys.
They were like, they were boys.
Okay. But anyway, yeah. I don't like him, as I said earlier, but I got to cover my grounds. I'm just trying to build a solid, balanced roster here. Card deck. So, yeah, went Alexander Hamilton, Ace of Clubs. And then, who else? Am I missing one? Oh, when James Madison, the quote father of the U.S. Constitution, fourth president, co-authored Federalist Papers. He's kind of in the shadow of Jefferson a little bit, but he had some good stuff to say. Good stuff to say.
He's like poor man's Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah, a little bit, and he was a flip flopper, a little bit of a flip flopper.
Fifth president,
fourth, a little bit of a flip flopper. So okay, that's a ding, but yeah, I took him. So. And last but not least, I came in with the Patrick Henry, a Lion of Virginia. Ardent anti-federalist, totally opposed the Constitution. Might have given it some listen with the Bill of Rights, but I think even then he probably still would have kicked it to the curb. So, and that's just because they fought a war against a central power that was 2,000 miles away. Why are you going to, put another big central power right in your backyard? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? So there you go. That's it.
Yeah. All right, good. That's the first round of that. I actually had a good time. I don't know about you. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
don't
I
know
should
if
be
our
more
listeners
prepared
did.
next time.
Yeah, that was pretty pathetic. For you being the one who's supposed
No,
to
I-
know more, I think I kind of.
Sorry, the dates thing is hard. It's a lot. There's a lot of information.
I know it's a
about
lot,
these
but
guys.
you know,
Who signed this? Who signed that? Rapid fire.
we can always do a errors and omissions in the beginning of the next draft.
Okay, be a lot of them.
Maybe not errors, just omissions.
Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson were in fact not boys.
I don't think they were them boys.
Not.
They were not them boys. They were not. Oh, I mean, they were them boys, but they weren't them boys. You know what I mean?
George Washington wanted them to be them boys
Yeah,
because he had them in his
in their
cabinet.
cabinet. Man, you think about how smart those guys were and how young they were. It's amazing.
Yeah.
God, so these guys were so young. I love to know their ages. Probably something we should have had. We should have like stats for them.
Like a up
Like
and down
age.
roster, like a
Yeah, just like an age and
like a sports card.
Yeah.
We should be that's what we should. Oh well.
we already got this far.
Should have made baseball cards for these
Well,
guys.
they could be the same.
And they'd have a stat. Like what do they bat? What do they hit? You know, what was the batting average?
Yeah,
in
well, I
the
don't know if we have. That'd be way too complicated. I think just like just generic stats. Anyway, just before we get off, 56 minutes in, I hope we kept some listeners. But I always wanted to ask this question to you. Maybe it's another time to say it. But like, do you think you would have been a loyalist or a patriot? Like travel back to Second Continental Congress, Boston Tea Party time period, really when things start getting heated.
I mean, I think it would.
That's a quick answer. Not to get too.
I'd be the third column, I guess. I'd be like just
That
the guy who
doesn't
wants to get his
exist.
job done. No, if I was just like
You'd
a
be
shoemaker,
impartial.
if I was a cobbler, yeah, I'd probably be impartial until.
In your fantasy world of living there, you would be a cobbler. Wow.
What are you putting yourself at?
I don't know. Something better than a cobbler. I want to be John Hancock. Good looking, rich.
Smuggler.
Yeah,
smuggle.
but I'd be such a. There's no way I would do that, and like, I would have been that. What's so impressive to me? Like,
I'm pretty risk averse in some things. Yeah, I
I
think
would have waited until I bet after the Battle of Saratoga, I probably would have switched.
I would say at most I would hope to have a John. I'd probably, just knowing my nature now, I would say I'd be more aligned with a John Dickinson, who we haven't gotten to yet. So stay tuned.
All right. Well, anyway, that's food for thought for our listeners out there. And we're going to post some images of these things onto our Twitter account. Again, I'm going to repeat. It's at Nailing History. Give us a follow there and take a look at the work that John did.
Is it Nailing History Pod?
No, I think it's just Nailing History. Hold on.
That's our email. Oh, okay.
At Nailing History. I got that
They locked
that
it in.
handle. I had to get that in quick. So, all right, well, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll be back. I don't know when. Hopefully sooner than later to finish this up.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks.
And we say bye-bye.